All right, so let's talk about if you have a business credit card set up, and let's say that you have, let's say, 2 or 3 employees, and you have separate individual credit cards with them, but it's all linked under the same actual credit card account. And this is a common situation in a lot of small businesses. And for some credit card companies, I don't know how they all treat it, but with some of my clients, I know the Chase, for example, is they treat all of those cards kind of separately within the same credit card account. And because of that, whenever I have my client, or if you link that credit card account onto your bank feed in order for it to automatically bring in transactions, what a lot of you might see is that it only brings in the main card in the main account that's set up with that. It'll only bring those transactions into the bank feed in QuickBooks. And the separate cards that you have to different employees, even though it's all under the same credit card account, they won't show up under the bank feed because it's treating it as separate accounts in a way. But I found a solution for what I had to do before when I was running into this with my clients is that, and I realized it once they would send me the whole credit card statement, then I would realize that it's not bringing in all the transactions to the bank feed because of the other cards. Is what I would do then at that point was create the statement as a PDF and then convert it to Excel and then import manually using the Excel file all those transactions into QuickBooks and then categorize them that way, which took a lot of time to do that. But I found a way to set it up correctly in your chart of accounts and everything, and then link it into your bank feed to where you essentially separate those credit card accounts, those separate cards out into different credit card accounts in your QuickBooks, and then you link it all to the same parent credit card account. And basically what you're doing when you do that is that you're allowing yourself to link all of those cards and accounts into your QuickBooks Online bank feed, so it automatically brings in those transactions for you, just like it does for all the other accounts. And so to me, I always set it up this way if this situation happens, because it's always worth the extra time to, rather than, like I said, importing those transactions in manually. However, do keep in mind, if you do it this way, it'll look a little sloppy on your balance sheet per month with the balances, but I'll show you how to create a journal entry to counteract that. And I just do this on a month-end basis. I'm just creating a journal entry to correct the balances out. And I'll give you some examples of what this will look like once we go through it. And so if you are interested in going through with this, the first step in doing this would be creating the right account setup in your chart of accounts. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create one parent credit card account. And then we're going to create all the different individual cards out to the employees as separate sub-accounts. And that'll allow us to link it correctly later when we look at how to link it into the bank feed. And in order to do this, when I'm filming this now at the beginning of 2023, is that they changed the chart of accounts workflow when you're adding new accounts in your QuickBooks Online. And unfortunately, if you're looking at your chart of accounts here in Business View, and so if you hit the gear icon here in the top right, you'll see where you're looking at it in Business View. When you're looking at it in Business View and you try to add credit card accounts, it doesn't give you the option or even allow you to create sub-accounts for those credit card accounts, which is needed in this case in order to make this kind of workaround work. And so what we'll have to do here is switch, in this case, to Accountant View. So again, if you hit the gear icon here in the top right, and then you can hit this link right here that says Switch to Accountant View. And what this will do, so the regular chart of accounts will look the same, but whenever you hit New here, so this screen will look different. But if you're not used to this screen, it's straightforward because you just hit credit cards here. And then now we're going to have the ability to create sub-accounts under the same parent credit card account, looking at it in Accountant View. So let's go ahead and get started doing this here. So let's say we're going to save it under credit cards, and let's create the parent account here. So let's say it's just Chase credit card. And then you can put the last four of the parent credit card actual account if you want. You don't have to, but so again, we're just creating the parent account here, and then we're going to save it. And then now what we're going to do, let's say we gave 2 credit cards out to 2 different employees that have different card numbers. And again, you only should really have to do this if it's not linking right in your bank feed. If it's all linking right in your bank feed, you'd probably be better off just keeping it all under the same credit card account because it'll just be simpler that way. But if not, it could be worth setting this up as SubAccounts. And so again, we're going to go to credit cards here. And then when you hit the save under here, if you choose the parent account that you just created as the save under, then what you'll essentially be doing is creating a SubAccount that way. And then again, you can put the last 4 if you want. You can put the employee name, whatever you want to do here. So this is going to be the first SubAccount under this main credit card account. So we're going to hit save, and then we're just going to add one more. Again, when we're doing this here, you would choose in this case, again, this parent, Chase, or whatever the credit card is. You choose that there to create the SubAccount. And then save that. And if you look at our chart of accounts here, and this is how it'll look on your balance sheet as well, is you have the main regular actual credit card account here, and then you have the 2 separate employee cards listed out as technically separate credit card subaccounts in QuickBooks Online. Your next step at this point would be linking all of these cards and accounts into your bank feed in order to automatically bring in all of these transactions. And generally what I find usually happens is that you can put this parent account as the main, usually the owner or something who has the first card, and that's what's linked to the actual account itself. And then you have the separate employees. And so, and I can't unfortunately show this how to actually link this in your bank feed because I don't have an account that I can use with multiple cards that I could show as an example. But essentially what you would do, let me just duplicate this tab here. And hopefully at this point, once I show you how to actually link, if you don't know already, into the bank feed, and let's go back into business view here. So whenever you're going into your bank transactions here, so this is a new account, so I haven't connected anything, so it'll look different if you already connected one, but just find throughout your bank feed, it's pretty easy to find when you're looking at your bank feed to find an option to connect an account, connect new accounts. And what you would essentially do is hit connect account. And then again, I can't really go through all the cues here because it won't really work because I don't have any of these accounts with multiple cards. But what it's going to do is that whenever you put in your credentials for the main credit card account, what it'll do is it'll give you the option, so it'll list out the parent account and then it'll list out all the different cards, all the different actual credit card, physical credit cards that are given out to the other employees. So essentially what you'll do at that point is just match them all up. And that's why I like to whenever you're creating the account, to put the last 4 of the actual card, just to make this part easier whenever you're actually connecting them. So again, sorry I can't show this, but it's usually pretty straightforward. So again, you log in with your credentials for your credit card company. It'll give you the option and separate the cards out, and you choose the parent account, and then you choose the individual cards for the sub accounts. And then that's how you link them all together in order to bring all those correct transactions into the bank feed with the right associated cards. Once this is linked up, what this will look like is you'll actually have, whenever you're going through your bank feed and categorizing transactions, you'll actually have, in this case, 3 separate accounts, and it'll be 3 separate bank feeds and credit card feeds for transactions. But at the end of the day, it'll all be linked under the same parent account. So what essentially will happen while you're going through here is that you'll categorize transactions under all these using your bank feed just like you normally would. And again, it's nice because they're actually being brought in automatically. Let me put in a few transactions here, and then I'll show you reconciliation and then the adjustment at month end in order to correct the balances. All right, so looking at the balance sheet here, so what I just did is I just added a few expenses. So let's say you're going through your bank feed through the 3 individual credit card accounts and for the different cards. And so now what we're basically doing throughout the month is we're just adding balances to all 3 of these accounts on your balance sheet. So that's what that's looking like as you're categorizing the transactions throughout the month on your balance sheet. So now let's say we have $175 outstanding on the credit card account. And now let's say that we're going to make a payment of $175 to pay this down. And again, we're going to put it under the parent account as the payment. So again, however the workflow is that you're using, whether you're doing it in the bank feed or what, but again, we're choosing the parent account here, and then we're going to pay $175. And let's say that was a little bit later. And so now let's say it's the end of the month. Well, first let me back up a little bit. Let's talk about credit card reconciliations. So what you're reconciling when you're reconciling this credit card account is you're reconciling the entire credit card account, not each individual card. And so you're reconciling this parent account. And I know looking at this, you probably think that it's going to be very sloppy, but it's actually pretty straightforward because QuickBooks handles it really well with it being in a parent account like this. So again, when we're reconciling, we're going to scroll down and we're going to choose the parent account, not any of the individual sub accounts or the card accounts. We're going to choose the parent account. Put in the balance and the date. And now see, so what the main thing that I want to show here in this screen is that whenever you go to reconcile like this and you choose the parent account, it brings in all the transactions for all the accounts and cards in the sub account. So again, the point I want to make is that whenever you're reconciling, this still will work, because even though it's tracking them as separate accounts, because it's all under the parent account, it'll bring all those transactions in by the time you go to do your reconciliations. So now the transactions were brought in automatically. We categorized them as they came in. We were able to pay down the credit card and reconcile the credit card statement. So everything's good up to this point. But now the downside of this method is that whenever all this is done, everything's accurate. The total chase balance here, the credit card balance, is as it should be. In this case, it's 0 and it's all reconciled. So it's technically all actually right on your balance sheet because of the total here. However, it looks sloppy here, the way it's listed out here. So you can either let it ride, or what I do is I make an adjustment in order to fix this, just to make it look better on your balance sheet. And it's an easy journal entry to do once you understand the concept of it. So again, it's not mandatory to change this because the total is correct, but I like changing it. And the reason that it looks sloppy here, in these individual accounts, the only thing that actually happened for these cards was the payments that were made, so it's increasing the balance. And then whenever you made the payment on the account, you only made the payment to the parent account. And so it brought that into the negative, and then the cards are staying positive because they're not being actually paid off in this, looking at it in this way. So that's generally what would happen. The parent account would be in the negatives and the other accounts would be in the positives. And so if you do want to fix this, which I usually do, is that I'll create a journal entry, and usually I make this a recurring entry just so I have the template so I don't have to type them all in all the time. So if you want to do that, you can definitely do that. And again, that's usually what I do. But in this case, I'll just show you just by entering a new journal entry. But again, I usually make a template of this just to make it a little bit quicker of going through this process. So you make the journal entry for the end of the month. And again, all we're doing is just cleaning up those accounts. So what you can basically do is just list out the 3 accounts, or however many accounts there are with that credit card. So we'll put in the parent account, employee 1 card, and then employee 2 card. And you can put any descriptions, names, anything like that you want, but really we're just going to do some debits and credits here. And again, I usually make this a template just to make it a little bit quicker, but you don't have to. So once we have the accounts listed out, what we're going to do is we're going to use some debits and credits in order to balance these out. So usually the first thing I do, sorry, this is kind of confusing because I just listed them all out first, but I forgot. Usually the first thing I do is I do the sub accounts first and then see what's remaining for the parent account. And so don't listen to what I just said where I just listed them all out in order. Usually, and again, this is probably because I just create templates. So I don't think about it because I don't create them all the time. But again, what I usually do is I do the sub accounts first, putting in the debits and credits, and then whatever's remaining is what's left over into the parent account. And so hopefully this makes sense in a second. And so basically what we want to do is we want to make these sub accounts balance out to be 0. And just to kind of basically clear them out. So what we're doing is we're just moving the outstanding funds on the sub account cards all into the parent account is essentially what we're doing. To understand when to debit or credit, because this is a liability, and so in this case there's a positive balance, so we want to lower it. So in order to lower a liability, we're going to debit it. And it's just accounting things, but just know that for a credit card liability, debiting it will lower the balance, crediting it will increase the balance. And so again, we want to make this 0, so we're going to debit it. So employee 1, we're going to debit it by the $50. And then employee 2, we're going to debit it by the $25, again, to bring it down to 0. And then don't look at what the balance currently is in the parent account. All you're doing is putting in the sub accounts, and then whatever the total is what you're going to balance it out with the parent account. In this particular case, it does match and it's going to bring it down to 0, but just know that that's usually not always the case. Usually at certain times you're going to have a balance left over. So that's an important distinction. The main thing is that you zero out the sub accounts and whatever's remaining you put in the parent account, because a lot of the times there will legitimately be a balance left over. And so don't worry if the parent account doesn't balance out to 0, because most of the time it's not supposed to be 0. And so again, I want to really make this point clear. Only worry about the sub accounts, bringing them to 0. Whatever's left over and your debits and credits after that, put it in the parent account. And then you can verify after, once it does all this, that the parent account is as balanced as it should be. Again, in this example, it's going to be 0, but that's usually not the case. So we're going to save this. And then what we're going to see is going to happen in the balance sheet. We'll refresh this here, is that now they're all 0. But again, generally what would happen is that these cards will be 0, and then there'll be a remaining balance here in the parent account. That's generally usually what would happen, but in this case, it balanced out to 0. So to summarize, that's, again, in order to do this, is if you want to bring in all the transactions regularly into the bank feed with different cards, what you basically do is you create sub accounts in the chart of account with one parent account, you link them all together in the bank feed, and then you categorize them as they come in normally. You reconcile the parent account normally, it brings in all the transactions. And the one thing, if you want, again, this isn't completely necessary, is that month end, you can create a journal entry to zero out these cards and then put the rest just into the parent account. But again, if you don't really want to do that, it's technically fine, because the actual total amount here is going to be correct no matter what. All right, so I want to thank you for watching my video, or my videos, if this isn't my first video that you're watching. And I wanted to give a quick update. So one of my big goals for this upcoming year is to grow my email newsletter list. And the reason for that is because I always want to be able to provide you guys with free training content, such as this video, for example. And I don't always want to rely on social media algorithms such as YouTube. So having this email list, I have in a direct communication with you in order to always be able to provide, no matter what happens in the social media realm, I'll always be able to provide directly to you these kind of resources. And if you are interested, so here's the link up here. So it's essentially -intentional.com/newsletter. And of course, it'll be linked in the description. And I do apologize if you have trouble reading this. If you do, you can go to this link and it's written out on a web page of all the details of what this is. What I ask of you to give is your first name and your email address. And if you do that, then what you'll initially receive whenever you sign up is I have a 1-hour QuickBooks Online training webinar session that I did, so for my local Chamber of Commerce here. And then also too, I have a Business Foundation PDF, I call it. And so I got a lot of requests for people who are initially starting up their own small business, so kind of what they need to do from a legal and kind of accounting standpoint to get everything set up, such as opening up an EIN, using that EIN to open up a separate business bank account, setting up your bookkeeping and accounting software, things like that. And I know most of you probably already have your own small business set up, but it could still be beneficial because you can use this as a guide to make sure that that foundation is there. And if it's not, then you can start setting it up at any point, really. And then also too, so the daily sales checklist. So one of my most popular videos is a daily sales entry method of using clearing accounts in QuickBooks Online to enter sales. And so I have a checklist of the accounts for that, so you'll receive that as well if that would be beneficial for you. And then ongoing, so my plan is to send just one email a month at the end of every month. What those emails will include is, most importantly, so these type of videos that I'm already creating on YouTube, I'll be linking those and sending those directly to your email. So again, we don't always have to rely on social media algorithms. And for the time being, these videos will include, of course, QuickBooks Online training videos, but also too, I'm going to start introducing more of small business and entrepreneur management accounting type videos. So talking about creating goals for your business and creating monthly budgets in order to align with those goals, and so things like that. So, and also too, links, resources, and updates to anything in the small business accounting and finance world, just to keep up to date on what the changes in the industry and how those affect small business owners on a day-to-day basis. So I'll also be including those. And then finally, last, I'll be including some travel and adventure updates on my own personal front in these emails. And so the reason for that, one of them is to keep me accountable so I don't get too comfortable, because I believe one of the big things that's important for small business owners is to have a why and a reason as to why you have your small business in the first place, in terms of how to support you and your own goals. So of course, you know, a big part of your small business is helping others in a certain ways, but I also believe it's important to have a vision of how your business is going to support you on a personal front. And I know this isn't everyone's goal, but my hope is that if I send these updates on these goals, so like one of them, for example, is to travel to all 50 states. Depending on when you're watching this video, so right now I'm at state 45 out of 50, and then I'm flying to Hawaii in 2 weeks, and that'll be state number 46. And my hope is by the end of this year, I'll be able to go to all 50 states. So that'll be one of the updates, for example, per month, is what state I'm at, what number, and what my plans are, and where I've been. And I know that that's not everyone's goals, or that's not even what everyone's interested in, is travel and adventure. But I just wanted to hopefully maybe give some inspiration, and at the very least give some reminders on a monthly basis to have your business support you and your personal goals. Because even if your goal is to spend more time with your kids, more time with your family, or just more leisure time, because I know from experience and from myself and from working for a lot of small business owners, is they initially have this personal goal where they want to have their business support them personally, and then they get so caught up in the day-to-day and the growth and everything of their business that they forget to actually make time in order to do these type of things for your personal life. So my hope is, again, maybe some inspiration, hold myself accountable, but also to remind you again on a monthly basis to take some time to think about why you're creating your business and growing your business and how it's going to support you in your own personal or family life. Again, I really thank you guys for watching, and if you are interested in this, again, here's the link here, and I'll provide it down below. Thanks again.